And so it begins.
What begins? Oh, right. My work at the greenhouse.
Yes. How did it go?
It went great. I sold a bunch of flowers. I made a bunch of pots. I helped people. I made them happy. It was great.
That is wonderful. So let's maybe make some people happy by starting this episode.
Let's do it. Welcome to the Garden Angelists, where I'm just making sure I'm plugged in. Yeah. Welcome to the Garden Angelists, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I have 2 gardens out in the country.
And I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
I can't wait. We are Garden Angelists because we love gardening and we want you to love it too.
Yes, we do. And we aren't afraid to spill all of our gardening secrets, the good ones, the bad ones, and even the ugly ones. But let's move on to this week's episode. Good morning, still, barely, on Sunday.
Good morning. Good Palm Sunday morning. How are you?
Yes. I'm good.
Tell me about your garden.
Dee, the landscapers came on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they completely cleaned up the vegetable garden cathedral. They tore out the old fabric. They put in new. They reset all the edging stones and put down mulch. And I sent you before and after pictures. And were you not impressed?
I was so impressed. Did I
Thank
not
you.
say I was impressed? I really was.
You did.
It was cool. It looked
And then I went out the next morning and I sowed seeds for peas, lettuce, spinach, kale, radishes.
yum.
And then the next day on Friday, I sowed seeds indoors for tomatoes and peppers. Lots of different flowers are blooming all over. Now, I will say that the cold snaps, a lot
Mhm.
of the early flowering trees like the magnolias, blah,
Yeah,
um,
happens.
the Bradford pears, hooray, they look terrible this year, in my opinion.
I hate them so much. They look terrible every year and they stink and they're invasive. But go
Yes.
ahead.
Well, and then on yesterday, Saturday, I was on the radio with our friend CL Finari over in Cape Cod.
Yep.
I talked briefly about AI generated gardening books, AI
That was a good one.
generated fake plants, and we talked about the lost ladies of garden writing and how to find real books.
And real people
Yes, and real people and real plants.
and real plants. Real. Yeah, that ought to be part of the title this week. We like real or something.
There you go. How about your garden this week? Gardens.
I worked in the old garden and I worked on the paths and such. I watered everything in the greenhouse twice because it was quite warm. I did some weeding, etc. And then Luz came over yesterday and I haven't seen it yet, but he did all my mulching for me to get it ready. And he said he worked on my paths. I don't know what that means. And he did a little bit of weeding and they mowed and trimmed and all that stuff. So we're trying to get the house and the garden to look really nice for when people come to visit.
There you go. No sign out front yet, though.
Huh?
No sign, no for sale sign yet.
Not yet, because I still got a couple of, repairs to make and an estate sale.
There you go.
We just got it cleaned out. It's been a lot of work. So anyway.
Yes.
And then I also garden coached 2 clients last week. And as you put above, I started work at the greenhouse yesterday, and that was really fun.
Cool. Let's play favorites. You go first.
Well, mine's Paquera obovata, which used to be Silencio ovovata or Senecio ovovata. And they changed the name a few years ago, and it's golden groundsel. But it has a lot of other common names, and it's a native plant. But it's a very aggressive native plant,
It is.
but pretty easy to pull up. So I don't find it a problem. I like it.
Yes. And we'll put a picture so people can see how beautiful and why it gets the name golden.
Yes, and I sent it to you. So
Yes.
it's a great, great food source for pollinators.
And I'm going to give a shout out to my daffodils this week. They look really good. I've got most of them back by the vegetable garden. And in spite of some very nasty cold snaps this past week, they rarely do daffodils mine, and they actually look pretty good. So I should have cut a bunch and brought them inside, and I still may do that. But so I'm going to do a shout out for daffodils.
Yeah, daffodils are wonderful. They're basically done here now. And the tulips are about done too because we've just had so much wind and so much heat.
We're just getting going on tulips.
So are you going to ask the question of the week? This one was sent to me by my son's best friend.
So you got what looks like an easy question. Where would it be the best place to get the majority of these materials? And then he goes on to list 2 cubic yards of dark mulch, gravel, black landscape fabric, 36 feet of edging, 6 dwarf Yupon hollies, 4 lavender plants, 2 salvia, 3 to 4 decorative rocks, medium size, 4 liriope muscari plants, 3 to 4 decorative urns, pavers 8 to 10. Where would be the best place to get those, D, in Oklahoma?
So I wrote him back, and I think this would apply to Indiana too. If
Oh, yeah, it
we were
would.
going to plant all these things, which I would not plant all of these, and I would not plant them all together because some of them don't do well together. And I don't like liriope, so I'll never be planting it ever. So that's just me. Okay, so it's really I wrote him back and I said, his name is Gray. I said, Gray, this looks simple, but it's not simple at all because, for one thing, over here you've got hardscaping, which can be bought at a variety of places.
Yes.
I like Minnick materials myself. And I said, what are you going to do with that black landscape fabric? That was my second question. Is that going under paths? I hope so. And then the other part of it is like right now, yeah, you could plant Yopon hollies, but you probably wouldn't plant lavender right now because lavender likes heat. And you probably wouldn't plant salvia right now. It likes heat. You see what I'm saying? The decorative
Right.
rocks go back into the hardscape again. And then so I gave him, and then decorative grasses, that's a whole can of worms. And I was like, this is a hard question, buddy.
Right. And, I think some people just want to do like the click, click, click on Amazon and it all comes to the doorstep. And that just, we're
Gardening? No.
no. You can get hardscapes. A lot of the hardscape stuff you can buy all in one place.
Yeah, Lowe's maybe, or one of the other
Menards.
box stores. Yeah, box stores will have it. Some of it. It depends on what you want. And the plants, it was all over the place. And I thought, who made this list? He's a realtor. So it was one of those things where I think they were trying to dress up a house.
Oh, and somebody said, well, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah,
And
and I
then
thought,
he
why didn't
wants
you
to.
ask me before you got started? But that's okay. So there you go. Question of the week. How about the insect of the week?
So the insect of the week, and by the way, my youngest sister, did text me several questions, but we'll dispense with those for now.
Well, we can use them next week.
Yes.
Lord knows we need questions. All right. Grubs.
Grubs is the insect of the week. And I thought, it's spring and people are out digging and you're bound to uncover a couple of grubs, which are sort of like these C-shaped, ugly, horrible looking little critters. And especially if you're digging in your lawn, they love to feast on lawn grasses. So the question is, what should you do? How should you control them? Because they are the larval stage around here. Most of them are the larval stage of the dreaded Japanese beetles.
Well, around here, we have a lot of them that are the larval stage of whatever that brown beetle is.
The
That's
June beetles.
the June beetles, which is a normal creature here, but there's a lot of them. They're white. And now,
Oh, yeah.
I did have a little bit of Japanese beetles in my old yard, but not that many. So just in a couple of places, which I actually learned from CL. You brought up CL for Nari. She and Ellen Zakos taught me on their podcast that pretty much the Japanese beetles stayed in certain areas in your yard. And so if you focus on those particular areas, getting rid of them, it's easier to keep them under control. So anyway, that's when they're actual beetles instead of the larval stage, which is the grubs.
Right. And so I looked this up and there's a host of sites that have information and the Bob Vila site. There are 3 natural methods. You can put nematodes down, which you can usually buy those places. Yep. I don't like to do that. Milky spore, so they get milky spore disease. You've done that, haven't you?
I have done that. Mm-hmm.
I have not.
It was okay. I didn't see that made much difference, but okay. Number 3 is my preferential one.
My preferential one too, because if you let the ground dry out, especially the lawn in summer when the beetles are trying to lay eggs, they kind of deposit them into the ground and they can't because the ground is hard, then you will have fewer grubs. And that bore out in the drought of 2011. Listen to me, an old timer. 2011, 2012, those drought years.
Yes.
The years following that, we had very few Japanese beetles. Now the populations have built back up, and then a 4th bonus method.
Chickens
Yeah.
love it. They do. And a lot of people out here have guinea hens that
Uh-huh.
run wild and they love them too. So chickens adore grubs. And usually if I found them back when I had chickens, if I found them in, when I was digging somewhere, I just saved them in a little can and then I took them to the chickens. It was a great deal of joy for all of us, except the grubs.
The fourth method, which we do not ascribe to, is chemicals. And no, and they will put flyers in the mailbox in the summer, like, do you want to spray for grubs now? Like, no, never.
No, because you'll kill a lot of other stuff too, including a bunch of beneficial stuff. So
Exactly.
it's
No,
a
no,
broad
no.
spectrum deal. Anytime you hear the words broad spectrum, it means everybody dies.
Exactly. There's very few insecticides that are not broad spectrum.
No, but the milky spore disease, which is natural, only I think I think it only kills bugs, but I mean, only kills larvae. Help me out here, grubs.
Grubs. It kills the grubs. And then on the Martha Stewart site,
Yeah, what is
she
she?
said that there were plants that repel the grubs. And I don't know about this. Marigolds, lavender, pelargoniums. And I know Japanese beetles won't eat pelargoniums, so there's some truth to that. But
Yeah, they don't like the fuzzy leaves, I suspect, and there's a scent to even the
yes,
ones that are zonal have some scent. So there you go. All right,
strive for balance.
try for balance. Balance in all things.
Yes. Here's a quote. Nothing ever seems impossible in spring, L.M. Montgomery. That's right out of the mouth of Anne of Green Gables.
The best quotes all the time. All right, so flowers. Can I plant Easter lilies and other potted flowering plants? Well, it depends.
It does depend.
It depends. And Susan Martin wrote an article for her Family Handyman. And if Susan wrote it, I believe it.
Yes. So we've talked about Easter lilies before. They are a big yes for my garden and probably yours.
Mm-hmm. You can grow them here.
And so what I would do is I would wait. I'd enjoy the flowers. I'd cut the flowers off. And then after we were frost free, I just plunked that thing down in the garden. And I have done that.
Yeah, I have too.
And I noticed at church it'll bloom in the summertime, not in the spring. I noticed at the church by the one entrance thing, they had a bunch of those Easter lilies blooming in the middle of summer. So they took a bunch that had outlived their usefulness and they plunked them down in there too.
Yeah, they do really well here. And the reason you want to cut the flowers off is you want them to put energy into their roots.
Exactly.
So you don't want to put them into seeds or anything else. So yeah, so those are a big yes. And then bulbs, she suggests.
Well, now bulbs, and so that would be hyacinths, daffodils, tulips,
Yeah.
grape hyacinths I've seen, little narcissus. So she has a 5-step process, and we'll go through it because it is possible.
It is. I don't do it, but go ahead.
So she says you keep it in the container basically, and once the flowers have faded, then you cut those off. Again, you want growth in the roots and continue to water the plant as long as it's green. And then once it goes brown and goes dormant, you stop watering it. And then, you can remove all the dead foliage. If it doesn't break away or easily, she says it's not really ready to go.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 choices at this point. You can plant it directly in the garden right then, or you can, and that's if you have drier soil because the bulb's really dormant at this point. So you don't want to plunk it in the ground and then have annuals on top of it that you're constantly watering.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could also store the bulbs in some place that's fairly dry and plant them out in the fall when you would plant other bulbs.
You could.
Let's say that with me. That's kind of a lot of work to keep track of all those.
No, I'm not. Yeah. No.
And she says you can really set the pot in a cool spot. You really don't have to take them out of the soil. You can just leave them in the soil and then take them out in the fall. Or you could do the Carol method.
Compost.
No, that's the D method.
It is the D method.
The Carol method.
Everything.
Once it had stopped flowering and looking good, I would cut off the flowers. I would gently tease out the plants and I would plant them in what's called in the green directly in the garden. and then let them die out there.
But then you're spending time planting them when you can, and you're taking up space that you can plant something else. So why would you plant them out there to die?
Well, they're going to die back, but then they're going to come back the next
Oh,
year.
you mean not die. You just mean for the foliage to die back,
Go
come
dormant.
back naturally.
I should have said go dormant.
Because I
My
was like, why are you
apologies.
planting them to die? You might as well
No,
compost the dumb things.
don't think you took it so literally.
Because dying is literal.
Yes, I meant dormant.
Okay, well, good. Can I do a
So
quote? Because I'm tired of this topic.
go ahead, Dee.
Sorry.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. One
What?
other thing that you're going to get as an Easter plant is blue hydrangeas.
No, don't.
Well, if you get blue hydrangeas, just know in Carol's garden and in Dee's garden,
They're
they will
not
never be blue
good.
again if they make it.
If they even live, because okay, we'll talk about those really quickly because this drives me nuts. Here around Mother's Day, it's all hydrangea all the time at the box stores, along with all rose all the time, and some really crummy roses, by the way. Some good ones, a lot of crummy ones. So those hydrangeas that come and have the great big blue blooms have been brought to fruition in the greenhouse. It's
Yes.
lovingly pampered like I don't know, like a racehorse. We'll just say it like that. They're like racehorses and they're thoroughbreds and they don't like it outside. They would like to just stay in their pot and be enjoyed.
Yes. Now you can go
If,
ahead.
if you put them outside, they're going to be pink or that weird purple color they become because our soil is alkaline. It is not
Ditto.
acidic. But they're probably just going to die because they don't really like it here. And that's not true of all hydrangeas. We can do a whole thing on hydrangeas if you want to. But
We will. We
the
will. We're getting
hydrangea
CL's book.
macrophylla, but the florist ones are the worst.
Yes. We're getting CL's book on hydrangeas that's coming out, and we'll talk about hydrangeas in depth. She did have a tip that if you have a potted hydrangea and you want to keep it going, you probably will need to up pot it and it needs to stay moist. Hydrangeas like a lot of water.
Water. Hydra, Greek for water.
Now you can do a quote and go to the veggie topic.
Okay, I'm glad we got done with that. The difference between a flower and a weed is a judgment. It's unknown, but it's on Carol's tea bag.
I thought that was funny.
It is funny. Okay, vegetables. We decided since it's Easter time, we would talk about plants to die for, DYE, not DIE. What flowers and veggies can be used for dyeing stuff, including Easter eggs? You can also dye fabrics, lots of things.
Sure. Are you dyeing Easter eggs this year?
Probably not. I mean, maybe Maddie will want it to, but Maddie is, high maintenance and high energy. So I don't know if she'd be patient enough.
Well, there's whole books, and we should have looked up and found like a legit whole book on growing things just to dye plants or to dye eggs and to dye fabrics. But I did find a Martha Stewart article, and she suggests red cabbage, which you can tell red cabbage is going to be good. It's going to turn out kind of purple.
Yeah, it turns out purple. I have done it. I've done some of this. Tea, we didn't put tea on here, but tea is another one.
Tea will turn it a light brown, which just buy the light brown eggs if that's the color you want your Easter eggs to be.
Oh, speaking of beautiful eggs, my friend Ladybug,
Yeah.
she's been breeding chickens to get really beautiful eggs. I took a picture of them and put them on my Instagram. I will send it to you, Carol, for the newsletter.
There you go. Now, you can use red beets or the juice from red beets for also.
Mm-hmm.
Turmeric will give you a lovely yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Red onion skins, they'll give you some kind of a purplish pink color.
Yeah, kind of pink.
And again, how the color is going to be quite variable, and it depends on how long you leave the eggs in the water.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to leave them a long time.
Yeah.
Or redo them. Like you take them out, dry them, put them back in. Kind of like putting on nail polish. You need more than one coat.
Well, the other thing is, and then people just get really, they tape like little stencils to the eggs and stuff to try to make them
Do little
pretty.
leaves like the fern leaves. I mean,
Yes.
they do some beautiful things.
Now, Better Homes and Gardens had some other interesting choices. Blueberries,
I think blueberries would be pretty.
carrot tops, and I don't know if they meant the foliage or the like the orange part.
I, I mean, if they say carrot, oh, I see, because they could be I suspect it's the top of the carrot foliage,
Yes.
and it would turn it yellow. Yellow.
And yellow apple skins.
That
I
would
can't
be really
imagine, but
light, I would think. And you, well,
orange skins,
maybe. Well, it'll be yellow.
grape juice.
So it'll be purple. So basically, you can get a lot of
Yeah.
purple
You could
and
get a
some
lot of
yellow.
purple, reddish, pink. Yeah. And yellow.
So there you go. And then so it's you have in here that you can't be set on a particular shade or color, but you have to be pleasantly surprised by what you'll get. Yeah, okay. And then some are dyed by boiling it in the liquid because that's how you get it to release. And others are hard boiled. You hard boil the eggs and then you dip them in a cold solution. It's a lot of work, girl. A lot of
Huh?
work.
Yeah, but
Are you?
we used to dye actually we used to dye Easter eggs for Easter when I was a kid. That was a big
Yeah.
deal. And then they would use the eggs for egg salad or deviled
Yeah.
eggs
Deviled
on
eggs and
Easter.
egg salad both. We dyed them too, but we used, what is that brand? That one brand? Yeah,
PAAS.
pause. P-A-S. Yeah.
Pause. Now, we used to dye them when I had my nephews were younger, and then they thought it was really funny to smash the hard-boiled eggs on the driveway.
Oh, so that stopped.
Well, then they were paid a quarter for every egg they turned back in.
Oh, that's good.
So
Yeah,
that was the end of
one's
that.
gross. Yeah, that sounds yucky. Okay,
So anyway,
are we done?
I suggest people don't buy the kits and just go ahead and try some of these natural methods and then tell Dee and Carol how it turned out because Dee and Carol aren't dyeing any eggs this year.
We're definitely not dyeing them with vegetables. All right, go ahead. Quote.
I enjoy the spring more than the autumn now. One does, I think, as one gets older. And that is Virginia Woolf.
I can see that.
Do you like spring better than fall now?
No, I still love fall a lot,
Oh,
but I like
I
spring
put
too. But it's not so windy in the fall. It's really windy here.
it has been windy. It's not windy now.
It's windy today. Mm. And I'm up on this hill now. See, I was kind of in a valley, but now I'm on a hill. So it's different. But it's okay. On the bookshelf, it's you. All you, girl. A Year with Gilbert White, the first great nature writer by Jenny Uglow.
I think you glow. Yeah.
Uglow?
She's a famous British biographer.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I bought this a while ago. I read about it, and you know how I'm fascinated by these January, February, March, April, May, just kind of going through a season.
Yeah.
And you've heard of Gilbert White.
Yes.
And so I thought, well, who wouldn't want a biography that she kind of takes the year 1781? And Gilbert White, for those that don't know, was a country curate living in the Hampshire village he had known all his life. Fascinated by the fauna, flora, and people around him, he kept journals for many years, was halfway to completing his path-breaking work, The Natural History of Selborne. No one had written like this before with such close observation, humor, and sympathy. His spellbinding book has remained in print ever since, treasured by generations of readers. I do not have that. But I will tell you that this is an interesting book. It's one of those dip in and dip out, and people may want to go and see if their library has a copy because the diary kind of jumps around and then she adds little comments and stuff. And so it's got nice things like if you ever wanted to know what Gilbert White's garden looked like, that's a map of it. It's pretty big.
Big.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
No, thank you.
That's pretty
I've
big.
done that. Mm-hmm.
And then, like for March 30th, he wrote, I don't know why he wrote 29 6 tenth and a half northeast. I think that's the wind and the barometer setting.
Mm-hmm.
Ice, sun, and harsh wind. And he says apricots, peaches, and nectarines are well blown. I think they got messed up by the frost. Anyway, and then she has a little snippet about it, and then there's a lot of little botanical illustrations
Those are pretty.
that come with it.
I love it.
And so I've been enjoying it. It's just a dip in and dip out kind of book. It may not suit every one of our listeners,
Right.
but if you like English history, English gardens, if you've heard of Gilbert White, if you like these January, February, March, and you just want to follow somebody from 1781 all the way through, then I can recommend A Year with Gilbert White, The First Great Nature Writer by Jenny Uglow, which is in my library now.
Nice.
Now you can get it from bookshop.org and also Amazon. When I bought it, it was only published in Great Britain, so I bought it from Blackwell's.
Oh, okay.
They ship free to the United States.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that.
So
That's cool.
anyway, that's our book this week. Just an Carol's odd little library. Here's one. Now do a quote. Let's talk about our dirt.
The birds around me hopped and played, their thoughts I cannot measure, but the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. William Wordsworth. And I have to agree, the birds are just having the best time right now.
They are.
They just seem so happy. Good for them. All right, dirt. And you said, beware of the influencer gardening info. No, once again, people, no, peppers are not male and female based on the number of bumps.
It's such a dumb thing.
It is so dumb. And it comes out every year. And then here's I hate this one too. No, Epsom salts are not the cure for all that ails in the garden. It does not cure everything.
No. And then there are no bright blue hostas.
No, not that color. No. There's a blue-green color.
But there's not bright blue.
No.
So to get accurate information, always check and find a second source, like put in cooperative extension at the end of your search.
Yeah.
And then if nothing shows up, it's probably not true, but something might show up to say,
it's not true.
Anyway, kind of a little bit of a rant, but it just.
Well, it just comes out this time of year and there's just such bad information out there.
Yes. I'm seeing one now where if you put copper strips or copper stakes down in your garden, it'll make your plants grow bigger.
No.
It will not make your plants grow bigger.
If you wrap copper collars around certain things, it might keep slugs away.
That's a good point, Dee.
Maybe. But who's going to do that?
But don't go burying copper pennies out in your garden thinking, and don't bury eggshells thinking you're going to give calcium to your tomatoes.
No.
What else, Dee?
There's so many. God, I don't know.
Now, to make this kind of fun, though, I did see this Instagram that I sent you.
Yeah.
And it's a author. She's 85,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a teacher. And she said years and years ago, a 10-year-old defined dreams. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
A dream is a wise part of yourself you are usually not aware of, trying to tell you something in a language that is different than the one you usually use. That's from Anna, age 10.
I loved it the first time I heard it. I thought it's true.
Yeah.
So true. Okay, so, and then you had another, this is what else she said about it. Our dreams and stories form enchanted threads that weave everything together. They help us give death a heart. Judy, 85.
That was the author.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Okay, you want to
Anyway, I'll do a quote. We'll do rabbit holes.
Okay, cool.
Easter is the only time when it's perfectly safe to put all your eggs in one basket. Evan Esar.
That's really cute. I like it. So rabbit holes, I'll go first. I actually was on PBS. I was on OETA, and I got interviewed about alpha-gal syndrome, and I think I did good.
I think you did really good. You sent me the YouTube, and I'm like, we're putting that on our show notes.
Mm-hmm. So,
and you did.
I really enjoyed doing it, and I feel like we got some good information out there.
Yes. I thought you did an excellent job, and you had to refresh your memory and make sure you had all your facts straight.
I did.
So that's why
I did. That's
there's
why
a rabbit
hole, because I had to go down a rabbit hole, and I had to go down with him because, well, honestly, he wasn't prepared, but whatever.
Well, and then the other thing, though, at the very end, they kind of threw out this little hopium
Oh,
And some people have recovered and can eat meat again. I'm like, Dee's never eating meat again.
no.
It'd be scary
Well, they
to.
said 40% recover, and that's not accurate percentage anyway. It's more like 12%, and that's based on Dr. Common's information that he got. So,
Well, and they don't really know how many people have it because there's no statistics. And don't you have a congressperson or somebody who's trying to pass a law so that it's one of those trackable illnesses?
yeah, and that's the whole thing is we're trying to get that law passed, and it did pass through Oklahoma Senate. There are a certain number of states right now that do track it, and the information has to be sent to the CDC. Oklahoma is not one of them, but we're getting closer. And so that's important for a lot of reasons. The money that is given from the government to your health department is based on those figures and stuff. And also we just need to know how many people have it because a lot of people
Right.
have it. So
Right.
kind of a wildfire in Oklahoma right now. All right, tell me about.
So I researched another Lost Lady of Garden writing. Ruth Shaw Ernst wrote The Naturalist Garden back in 1987. And then she wrote another book called The Movable Garden about container gardening in 1991. So really kind of ahead of her time because what are people interested in right now? Naturalist type gardens.
Yeah, they're interested in all that stuff.
And container gardens.
Mhm.
The funny thing is, I found a review of her book that this guy did not like it at all. And he wrote a big thing in the Atlanta Journal
Constitution.
Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, wicked.
Mm-hmm. The garden world used to be a lot more aggressive.
Well, he claimed she used too many cliches.
Okay, well.
But he used the cliche of a sports analogy that she had the ball but fumbled it. Like what?
Oh man, he sounds like a jerk. I don't know him, but he sounds like a jerk. You need to
Well,
watch some more videos of the real vintage doll's house by Hannah.
yes, where nostalgia finds a home. She's just doing a great job. She has over 200,000 followers. But there's just something kind of soothing about her videos. Like, she decided to make a traditional English tea with scones and clotted cream and strawberries, or they had a World War II or post World War II. They had this special bread that they wanted everybody to make because it was denser and had more
Nutrition.
vitamins and things in it. Mm-hmm. So she made a loaf of that. That was kind of fun to watch her. She has the teeniest, tiniest kitchen to do all this in because of the house that they live in is really old. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
like that girl in Paris that I used to follow. She was English, and she had the world's tiniest kitchen. That little stove, the stuff she kept right out of that little tiny oven. I feel
same deal.
I went from a double oven to a single oven, and I find myself sometimes going, because I'm so used to having two if I needed them for something. So I've had to rethink that. And I think if I had one of those little baby ovens, I don't know what I'd do. So there you go.
Well, you cook a little bit differently.
You do. Everybody does. All right. And then our garden to visit is the Longview House and Garden in New Orleans. I've not been to this.
I've been to it. That's why I put it on there.
I want to hear about it.
Well, I went to it 2019. I went down there to visit my niece and husband, and they didn't have kids at the time. But I said, yeah, let's go to this Longview House and Garden. And it was really interesting because it's like the first house in the area that had air conditioning. And I think that and I'm going off the top of my head, the wife, her father was big in the Sears Roebuck and Company. And so that's where a lot of the money came from. They had the long drive into the house with the big trees overhanging it, which was kind of a nice entrance into it. And we saw it rather early in the season, but it was really nice. And they have a big iris festival there. Mm-hmm. And the famous garden designer / writer, Carolyn Dorman, designed their gardens for them. And they had samples of receipts for what she charged them for doing different things.
Mm-hmm. Do I know that name? Carolyn Dorman? That sounds.
She was a friend of Elizabeth Lawrence.
Oh, that's why. Yeah.
That's why. And so anyway, if you're down in the New Orleans area, A lot of times people go to the Garden District, they go down Bourbon Street, they go visit those old creepy cemeteries where everybody's buried above ground because
Because they have
New
such a
Orleans is
high water
basically,
table.
well, they're below sea level.
Hmm.
But then go out of town a little bit to Longview House and Garden, and it's just very relaxing. And I enjoyed it. We didn't spend a ton of time there. Oh, they had a lot of camellias in bloom too, which was nice.
I love seeing camellias in bloom. Where
It was very nice.
they don't grow.
So anyway, that's all I've got for New Orleans.
I like it.
We'll go to another city next week.
Okay. I'll have to think about where we should go. Who knows? Okay. Garden commissions. I'm going to do mine first. I need to cut back the lavender because I'm late cutting it back. I hope I don't cut off the flowers. It's really difficult for me to get motivated to do it at the old house. It's a lot of work, and I'm done with the old house, but it's not done with me. All right. Hopefully we can start on the gardens in the new house. I don't know why that has that word in there. I'm going to clean out the greenhouse at the old house and get the pots ready to sell in the estate sale because I'm going to have some pots for sale. I'm not bringing that much stuff here. I have really pared down my container garden too. So, and people are so shocked at that. And I'm like, well, there's only so many places to put pots, first of all. And
right.
I mean, he's not well. So he comes first. He's my first priority.
As it should be. Yes.
Your turn.
So I do have to get going on garden cleanup. I got halfway through the patio and then the weather kind of turned and well, I can't do any more. And then the guys were out there working. And so I just kind of left them to do their thing and had to do the planting. So garden cleanup, big priority because the Easter egg hunt is going to be Saturday afternoon, which looks like 67% rain. And last year it got rained out. So I know it will be fine, but it would be nice if it could be outside. I'll probably mow the lawn for the first time in front only. And you can tell that I'm using like a natural fertilizer. My lawn is waking up more slowly. The people that have had the lawn service, some of them have mowed already 2-3 times. And it's like, wow, that's ridiculous.
That's kind of for that.
There's a few dandelions I need to dig out, but not many. There's some violets. They will never be dug out as long as I have breath to go.
Mm-hmm.
So basically getting everything ready for the big Easter egg hunt. That's the priority. So
cool.
We shall see.
All right. Well, I guess we should wrap this up, girlfriend.
It's going to be a fast one.
It is.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure and follow us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us get noticed by others.
If you subscribe to our Substack newsletter, you get a link to listen to the podcast a whole day early and links to the products we discuss. Plus, go over to YouTube and see us in person. Full episodes show up on Tuesdays. So if you can't wait until Wednesday, you now have 2 ways to get episodes on Tuesdays.
And if you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we're in a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one-time donation through PayPal. You also have the option of pledging your support on Substack. I don't know why I had trouble with that.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
And it was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden thing. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.